loud. Okay. Okay, great. Well, anyway, thanks for coming, and I'll try and keep on time today. And again, sorry, like I said in my email about not having done the two recordings. This month was just, some months are just hard. And this month, just like in the old days, when I was a student or whatever, and you drink, they always say never to mix your liquor, right? You don't drink beer and scotch and wine and whatever, and eat a hot dog, and then of course you throw up. When you mix your flying too much, two different places, like you're going to Asia and then Europe and Australia or whatever, like it's just really hard on your nervous system. So I found with this one here, because I had to go to Korea, two trips, one to Los Angeles, one to Ottawa, and then two back-to-back Australias. That was just, so twice I sat down to record the class and I was all set to go, and I thought, I can't do this, it's gonna come off terrible. Like I was so overtired, I knew it was gonna be so flat. So I just figured, for me, quality with this is everything. And I want to make sure that it's not, I mean, otherwise it's just kind of like people that put out stuff on Instagram or TikTok every day, where it's just them with a coffee, just like, okay, I want everyone to feel gratitude for their life, or like, it just all like sort of superficial, stupid stuff. So I just figured, okay, when I get back to Nelson, we'll do a class then. So here we are. And next week, of course, Rinpoche is doing his White Tara retreat. So what I'll do is I'll see about recording a live class towards the end of the week, maybe Thursday. If you guys want to come, no worries. Otherwise, I'll just, host it and put it out, just so we can keep on track a little bit. So it's done midweek, and then we can all attend Rinpoche's class at the end of the week there. Okay, great. So without further ado, we'll just get on here and do Heart Sutra. Here. Okay, perfect. Let's see. Okay, so if everyone could just sort of sit in meditation here, I'll recite this as a blessing to always remind us of emptiness whenever we do our class. Homage to the perfection, wisdom of the Blessed Mother. Thus I've heard at one time, Blessed One was dwelling in Rajgir and Mass Vulture's Mountain, there the great assembly of monks and a great assembly of Bodhisattvas. That time the Blessed One was absorbed in the concentration of countless aspects of phenomenon called profound illumination. That time also Superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of the Great Being, was looking perfectly at the practice of profound perfection of wisdom, looking perfectly at the five aggregates being empty of inherent existence. Then through the power of Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of the Great Being, how should a son of the lineage train who wishes to engage in the practice of profound perfection of wisdom? Thus he spoke, and Superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of the Great Being, replied to Venerable Shariputra as follows. Shariputra, whatever son or daughter of the lineage wishes to engage in the practice of profound perfection of wisdom should look perfectly like this. Subsequently, looking perfectly and correctly also at the five aggregates being empty of inherent existence. Form is empty, and emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form, and form is not other than emptiness. Likewise, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are emptiness, having no characteristics. They are not produced and do not cease. They have no defilement, no separation from defilement. They have no decrease and no increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, and no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mentality. No form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no tactile object, no phenomenon. There's no I element and so forth up to no mentality element, and also up to no element of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no exhaustion of ignorance, and so forth up to no aging and death, no exhaustion of aging. Likewise, there's no suffering, origin, cessation, or path, no exalted awareness, no attainment, also no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there's no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide in the perfection of wisdom. Their minds have no obstructions and no fear. Passing on or beyond perversity, they attain the final nirvana. Also, all Buddhas reside perfectly in the three times, having relied upon the perfection of wisdom, became manifest and complete Buddhas in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, unsurpassed mantra, the equal to the unequaled mantra, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, since it's not false, should be known as the truth. Mantra of perfection of wisdom is proclaimed, Tayatam Gata Gata Paragata Parasamgata Bodhisoha. Shariputra, Bodhisattva, great being, should train the profound perfection of wisdom like this. Then the Blessed One arose from that concentration and said to Superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, that he'd spoken well. Good, O son of Anjan's like that. Since it's like that, just as you have revealed, in that way, the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced, and the Tathagatas will also rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Shariputra, Spirit of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the Great Being, the entire circle of disciples, as well as worldly beings, gods, demons, gods, demigods, and spirits, were delighted and highly praised what had been spoken by the Blessed One. So I always think gods and ghosts because I do so much to practice gods and demons. So it kind of comes in there. So, and just three Gate mantras here. Om Gate Gate Para Gate Para Samgate Bodhi Soha. Om Gate Gate Para Gate Para Samgate Bodhi Soha. Om Gate Gate Para Gate Para Samgate Bodhi Soha. Okay, so we're settling down into meditation here. Let's take a moment to do our 9-point breathing. So again, 3 breaths in, the left out through the right, getting rid of desirous attachment. 3 breaths in through the right nostril, out through the left, getting rid of anger, reactivity, frustration. And 3 deep breaths in both nostrils, just in and out. The final inhalation, just hold your breath at the navel, put your mind there. So the prana, the breath, and your mind are just in the navel chakra, just a little bit below your belly button there. And then release when it's uncomfortable. Okay. Let's just relax and start the visualization for today. So we can visualize ourselves in a wide open space, ground like lapis, soft, easy to sit on, very beautiful. And ourselves surrounded by all sentient beings. So our mother on our left, father on our right, representing the male and female sort of polarities in our body. People we love the most behind us to support, and people we like the least have issues with in front of us, kind of working out our karma with them and have them as objects of compassion. Now, concentric circles moving out, people from all over the world, other human beings, animals from all the different ecosystems, countless spirits from the spirit world, different spirit beings, astral, ethereal, elemental planes, and so forth. Celestial beings, gods and demigods, and then countless beings from lower states of rebirth, kind of like the nightmare realms, different hell beings and hungry ghost beings, all here, sort of content, at peace, meditating with us. Just like a huge festival, we're just in the middle, all the people around us here, and we're all sort of in this meditative state, looking upwards, beautiful clear sky like a dome above us. In the central part of the sky here, we'll just do a little bit more of a detailed visualization today on Giorgio. So wonderful world tree made out of pure light and energy arising out of Lake Manasarovar. So it's huge. It's just kind of like sitting in front of the Empire State Building or something. Like it's a gigantic vision in front of us here, made out of light and energy. Very, very beautiful. So we've got a beautiful tree, like a big oak tree or ash tree. And center, it's just all different holy beings, just like Bob Thurman called it, like a Christmas tree with all the different lights and toys and so forth, and candles and all the things we used to put in Christmas trees. So all these different light beings or Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are all in the tree, and they're all just like stars in constellations around a central figure, which is like a beautiful harvest moon, and that's Buddha Shakyamuni. So our main guru, founder of Buddhism here, this fourth Buddha of this fortunate aeon. And all of our teachers are in a direct line or descent and lineage right from Buddha Shakyamuni. So he's in the sort of the main form that we always see him in, what they call Supreme Nirmanakaya form. He's on a white lion throne, multicolored lotus, moon and sun seat, and he's got a beautiful golden energy body. Seated in lotus position, as a begging bowl of medicinal nectar in his left hand, and right hand is in the subduing mudra, touching the earth. And then at his heart is his higher Sambhogakaya or angelic form, Vajradhara, with his partner, Vajradhatu Ishvari. And again, like you can sort of figuratively say, our old grandma and old grandpa, just except they're 16 years old in this case. That's what Urgyen Tugpa Rinpoche used to say about Samanta Bhadra. Samanta Bhadra, and I really like that. It's very beautiful, representing our Buddha nature or the Dharmakaya. So they have beautiful blue energy bodies in sexual embrace. He's holding a Dorjian bell. She's holding a skull cup and cleaver. Crowns on, beautiful ornaments and so forth. And again, sort of like a dark blue, sort of a sapphire blue. Really pretty, with a little hum letter just between their hearts at their heart level. You can have it right in Vajradhara's heart, but I actually like, Lama actually said you can always put the seed syllable when a Buddha couples in Yabyum sort of between them to show their unity. Now on our left, or Buddha's right, is Buddha Maitreya, surrounded by all the Buddhas of compassion, sort of the vast path of Buddhist teachings on compassion, bodhicitta, and so forth. And he's got a golden energy body in bodhisattva form, holding two white lotuses. And you have great saints like Arya Sangha and Vasubandhu around him. This also represents kind of the side of the mind-only school of emptiness. So on our right, our Buddha is left in the tree. Again, the same bodhisattva form as Manjushri, Buddha of wisdom, surrounded by all the profound path gurus who have taught wisdom realizing emptiness. So again, this represents the middle way or Madhyamika tradition of emptiness teachings. And you have great saints like Arya Nagarjuna and Chandrakirti and so forth on that side. Now behind the Buddha in the tree is Vajradhara, this time solo. So he's just seated with a lotus position, holding a Dorjian bell, beautiful blue body with a crown on, and he is surrounded by all tantric gurus. That's the Vajrayana path behind him. And now in front, and they always show you seeing the tree, almost like bleachers in a stadium or something, all lines of Buddhas here. So the first one around in front of Buddha Shakyamuni we have is our root teacher of this life, and all of our teachers who have taught us correct spiritual paths. And that can be a big number of people, all the people that have sort of put you on this path of self-overcoming, so to speak. taught you how to read and write, or just maybe priests or rabbis or people that taught you to be spiritual when you were a kid. Everybody that, I mean, technically even family members, you can sort of put there as teachers, maybe your mom and dad or grandma as teachers. So they're all there and moving towards us, all the different Buddhist bodhisattvas, yidams, arhats, dakinis, dharma protectors. So such as the Buddhists with 4 classes of Tantra, 24 dakinis, all the Dharmapalas and so forth are all here. So you just look up and it's just like this huge constellation of all different Buddhas here in the sky, like all little stars shining at us. So you can just feel just being in the presence of all this energy, instantly we're subdued and pacified and just feel completely content and blissed out and happy. All the sentient beings around us. And taking refuge, I and all sentient beings until achieve enlightenment, go refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And all sentient beings to achieve enlightenment, go refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings to achieve enlightenment, go refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Through the virtues we collect by giving other perfections, may we become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Through the virtues we collect by giving other perfections, may we become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Through the virtues we collect by giving other perfections, may we become a Buddha for the benefit of all. So generating our refuge and bodhicitta motivation. So yeah, we'll just do quick purification here. White lights and nectars are coming down from the hearts of all holy beings in the tree. So just like streams of light and nectar, especially coming down into us. And again, it's just like sort of like a soft light or milk, purifying us, flushing out all of our negativities like soot or oil or ash or so forth, making us all luminous. It's like a sprinkler system, like when you, whatever, in the apartment building, the sprinklers all go off. If there's a fire, we can just feel just all wonderful, sort of soft, white light and energy coming down, purifying us. This is for all of our obstacles to taking refuge and generating bodhicitta in particular. And now the lights and nectars turn color to golden, and this is the empowerment part. All the wisdom, compassion, power, all the teachings and lineage of Sutra and Tantra, even refuge and bodhicitta, all just sort of direct download. It's like we're plugging our cell phone in and zzz, you see the little battery indicator there starting to go up. We're just like a video game where we're powering up. Zzz, feeling content and blissful, joyful here. So Buddhas are doing this to us all the time. It's just a lot of times, obviously, our hearts are closed. We're just in a bad mood. We're like, nah, and it's just kind of like we're reflecting. We put ourselves in tinfoil, and it's like reflecting the energy back or something. So anytime we take a moment to sort of open up like this, already the Buddhas are blessing us. This grace is always offered all the time. Generally for measurables, may everyone be happy, may everyone be free from misery, may no one ever be separated from their happiness, may everyone have equanimity, free from hatred and attachment. Okay, so doing the 7 limb practice here, we're going to do a bath offering today. This will be just sort of good karma for us restarting here a little bit after a couple of weeks. So that's where we're going to spend a little bit more time in the offering part here. So we can just start with offering prostrations, just acts of devotion here to the refuge tree. Sort of physical prostrations, inner mind visualizing here, saying praises, mind of devotion. And now the offering phase, again, we can just feel flowers are filling all directions here. In particular, we're going to do a traditional bath offering here. Just got to get my bowl here and my bowl. So, okay. So this part here, this is a good way just to purify ourselves. We're giving a bath to all the Buddhas. Of course, they're made out of light and energy. They don't need a bath, but it's just kind of like an analogy or whatever. We're just sort of purifying ourselves, giving ourselves a bath by doing this visualization as an offering to them. So what we can visualize now, just in front of us, just in front of the refuge tree here, comes a beautiful bathhouse. We can just think it's almost like some kind of Turkish bathhouse or some fancy thing, some spa or whatever, just like Halcyon or whatever, Scandinavian Spa and Whistler or whatever. And so we have it as a square building. And in each of the sides is a little door. And so in our mind's eye, when you go into the beautiful building, which is made out of light, it's absolutely gorgeous, all marble and frescoes and paintings and whatever, just fancy spa, top quality at the expensive hotel, so to speak. And the hot bath is at the bottom, and there's four. So in the four entryways, there's little stairs down to the bath, and you can pop in the bath. And there's gods and goddesses ready. They're like the attendants holding the towels and so forth like that, ready for the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to come down and have a bath. So just start to, you can visualize that. Okay, so we can just sort of start here with the Lord of all sentient beings, subduer of all demonic forces, nor of all phenomena without exception, Lord Buddha and all attendants, I entreat you. A bathhouse of sweet fragrance, a crystal floor clear and shining, pillars of radiant gems alluring, a brilliant canopy of pearls. So just here, you have to just draw a little diagram on the mirror. Okay. Embodiment of all the Buddhas in the nature of Vajradhara, root of the triple gem, to all gurus I offer purifying bath. So at this point here, we can just visualize that 4 sets of, well, actually 5 sets of groups of Buddhas start to come down into the bathhouse. So Buddha Shakyamuni starts to float down into it, and we can feel that behind Buddha Shakyamuni Vajradhara, and all the Tantric gurus go down, Maitreya and all the vast path gurus, Manjushri and all the profound path gurus, and then your root teachers leading all the other Buddhas in. So they're all going in the 4 doors here. So of course, just, it's made out of energy or light, so it can expand and sort of include all these beings. Buddhists come down, so just feel that they're sort of taking their clothes off, giving to all the gods and goddesses who are attendants there and going in the bath. It's beautiful. It's almost like a eucalyptus steam room if you want to sort of visualize that. Really, really beautiful fragrances. So they're being bathed right now. And now as they come out, we can just feel that they're given towels by the goddesses and gods and goddesses here. Their bodies are dry. They find this clean, fragrant cough. Om, Hum, Tam, Hi, Archaya, Vishadaya, Soha. So let's try the little bodies here. To the holy bodies of victorious ones, I offer precious perfumes, their fragrance pervading 3 worlds. Just as a smith polishes a highly refined gold, I anoint them with magnificent scents. So we're offering fragrances to them. I offer precious garments of rainbow brightness, delightful to touch in order to purify my mind. May I be adorned with the sublime clothing of patience. So they're being given new robes, new clothing here. Naturally adorned with the noble signs, the Buddhas need no other ornaments, yet supreme jewel ornaments are offered, that all beings maintain a body with excellent marks. So at this point here, they're offered beautiful ornaments. So now they have new robes, they've had a little bath, new robes, they've had new ornaments and so forth. Okay, Then with appropriate verses, offer umbrellas, vases, flowers, and so forth. So again, we can just in our mind, as they're about to leave the bathhouse here, we're giving them wonderful gifts, flowers and candles and so forth, food, sweets, nectar, there's music playing in there and so forth. With love to mean all sentient beings, by the force of your miraculous powers, as long as they make offerings, O Buddhas, please prevail. So now we can just feel that they all start to move out in 4 directions from the bathhouse and start going back up into the tree. Now all the bathhouse and everything inside starts to dissolve into golden light, into a ball of golden light now, and that dissolves right into our third eye, just between our eyes here at that chakra, and blesses our body. Okay. Now, confession and rejoicing. Again, just thinking, acknowledging all the shortcomings we have, bad habits and so forth, character flaws, bad things we've done. We're going to purify them, let them go, heal them. Rejoicing in all the goodness that we've done and all the goodness around us, all the virtues of all sentient beings, and all, especially virtues of all the Buddhas and all goodness in holy beings. So we're just sort of aspiring to be like them, rejoicing, sort of acknowledging, sort of sharing in that goodness. Holding in our hand a line throne, sending that up. Please, Buddhas, always stay with us. Never leave us. Holding your hands, golden 8-spoked Dharma chakra, Dharma wheel, that goes up as well. Please continue to teach us. And we dedicate all things, all these virtues and everything we're doing today for the enlightenment of all sentient beings. Okay, just to conclude here, we're going to open our hearts one more time to generosity. I'll offer a mandala. The ground sprinkled with perfume and spread with flowers, great mountain, 4 lands, sun and moon, seen as a Buddha land, and offer that small beings enjoy such pure lands. Om Idam Guru Rana Mandala Kamyoti Nami. So their final offering here, a gift. Again, beautiful golden light nectars comes down as a blessing. And in the crown of our head, making us almost like a little sun ourselves, and all sentient beings around us are glowing. At this point, we start to do the dissolution meditation here, so we can just feel that Lake Manasrovar and the beautiful refuge tree all start to melt to golden light, dissolving to all the holy beings, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in front, and holy beings in front of Buddha Shakyamuni all sort of start melting inwards into light and dissolve into our root teacher. And they become a ball of golden light that goes and melts into Buddha. On either side of Buddha, left and right, we can visualize that all the vast path and profound path gurus melt into our Buddha Maitreya, Buddha of loving kindness, and Buddha Manjushri, Buddha of wisdom. And they become like little balls, little suns, balls of golden light that move inward and dissolve in Buddha. And now behind Buddha, all the Vajrayana gurus melt into Vajradhara, Chakra Vajradhara, and becomes beautiful ball of blue light and dissolves into Buddha. Now in the sky, we just had Buddha Shakyamuni sort of floating in the sky here, and Vajradhara and Vajradhatishvara at his heart. So he starts to dissolve inward as well into golden light, melting into the divine couple. So only they're left in the sky. And sort of they're the condensation, they're sort of the embodiment of all the 3 jewels of all these holy beings. all of their sort of qualities and powers and quantities and everything are just going directly into them. Now they get small, about the size of your baby pinky fingernail here, or just like a little sunflower seed. And they come to the crown of our head, about a foot above us, turn around so they're facing the same direction. They're softly emitting rainbow light, blue light, green, red, yellow, and white. All directions here, the 5 elemental colors. Now they enter the crown of our head, made out of light or energy, so it's easy for them to enter. And slowly descend to our heart, just in front of our spine there, just like a little elevator going down. Into our heart, they dissolve directly into our mind there, into the soul, so to speak. Just like a little, like dropping blue food color into a big vase of water. It just goes boop, and then just sort of instantly sort of dissolves. Just feel that all the wisdom, all the compassion, all the power of Buddha is going directly into us. Great sort of spaciousness, luminosity or awakeness, and bliss, sense of great totality and joy. Again, sort of creation energy and just love for all beings. And you can just sort of sit here. Okay. Slowly coming out of meditation here. Okay. Okay, what were we talking about? I think it was karma, right? So this is class 5 of karma. I'm just making absolutely sure. It's not the first time I teach the same thing here. So let me just see here. Because we've done 4 classes already on it. And the last one I did, was on, was just how karma works, which, that's perfect. Okay. So how karma works, that was the last one that we did. And I remember that I wanted to talk a little bit more on, I had a little list there at the end that I didn't have a chance to talk about, which is just sort of a short presentation of karma and emptiness and how karma is caused by the lack of understanding of emptiness. Well, bad karma, I should say. Obviously, good karma is once you understand emptiness, you see that you have to do good karma. But in the sense that how we usually understand kind of like bad karma and suffering and so forth and delusions is, of course, caused by our ignorance, and in particular, ignorance of emptiness. So I believe the reference I have here is from the Uttara Tantra Shastra, Mahayana Uttara Tantra Shastra from Maitreya. Years ago, Rinpoche did a huge teaching on that in the 1980s. I think there's recordings of that. We did that at Serling in Vancouver maybe 20 years ago or something. I can't remember, studied that. And that was really, really wonderful. So I really recommend people studying that text. It's an absolute masterpiece from obviously a visionary piece given from Buddha Maitreya directly to great Buddhist Saint Arya Sangha. But anyway, there's a little bit of a description of kind of how karma works here. So number 1 is everything starts with your back chaks or your imprints from previous lives. Okay, so in particular, the back chaks or imprints of ignorance, where you see things that appear to be self-existent. So in other words, the big problem starts with our imprints of ignorance, where we're grasping at things being self-existent. That sort of is the number 1 cause of all the problems here, and that's from past lives. So in particular, so because of these back chaks, what ends up being produced is there's 2 kinds of ignorance that spring to your mind as a result. In other words, the tendency to grasp a person's self-existent nature and the tendency to grasp phenomena's self-existent nature. So again, just grasping people and phenomena, basically all things as being self-existent. So these are the 2 kinds of ignorance, self-existence of persons, and this of course includes yourself most of all, and self-existence of phenomena, okay? This is the ignorance that causes sufferings. So then number 3 is you look in this life at pleasant or unpleasant objects, and we end up perceiving them in this incorrect way, okay? In other words, that we're seeing them as self-existent, not as being produced from our own mind, our own projections, or even from our own back chaks or imprints. We're seeing them as being dualistically separate from us. 4, based on this misunderstanding, we have attachment or aversion to them, okay? So self-existence means things exist independently from I conceiving them that way. So in other words, we're, again, this fundamental ignorance where we believe things are completely separate from our mind, in particular, separate even from our conceptions of them, separate from our labeling, separate from them being arising from our imprints and so forth. So we're coming into contact with pleasant or unpleasant things, we're grasping them in this way. And then 5, we collect karma based upon thinking and acting out of attachment and ignorance. And number 6 being that you circle in samsara, again, it's self-perpetuating. So anyway, so needless to say, because we have this self-existent sort of ignorance in our mind about objects, we believe them to be self-existent, we end up behaving towards them in a certain way, either out of attachment or out of aversion, creating karma, and we end up kind of doubling down, right? The more we sort of act that way, the more we're affirming our own ignorance, sort of digging ourselves deeper into the hole of samsara, okay? So it says here that these backtracks or imprints are then increased and expand because they're nourished with supporting thoughts and actions. Okay. So in other words, you can see that part of the problem, like I say, is kind of this idea of doubling down. Not only are we doing bad things, but also the bad karma we're doing with is motivated and supported by the whole view we have of inherent existence. So these sort of backtracks or imprints, that's how they sort of continue in our mind from moment to moment, is we're sort of investing ourselves in them. We're sort of literally enjoying them, as they say in psychoanalysis, enjoy your symptom, enjoying our negative ignorance and so forth, and doubling down with them. So it's kind of like we're the ones kind of rolling these because of that attitude, that view. We're kind of like rolling the carpet or whatever. Maybe the carpet would be unrolling. Maybe it's kind of like a big ball that we're sort of rolling forward of all these backtracks. And we're laying down more backtracks as we're doing. So literally it is a downward spiral that way, right? Okay, so that's, we talked about that last time. That's kind of how karma ends up being sort of created based on ignorance and how we go forward. So this week here is the karmic path, which is black and white karma. Black and white karma. So what is black and white karma? So again, this course, we've been looking at sort of different aspects of karma. We can see different viewpoints of karma, how karma works, different kinds of karma, and so forth. So this one is sort of a general description of black and white karma. Okay, so I guess you could say good and bad karma. So now number one is napoi, which is in Tibet, nakpoi or whatever. So if I'm pronouncing that right, which is black karma. So what is black karma? So it's three things: black karma, there's white karma, then there's a mixed black and white karma. First one being black karma. What is it? Its essence and result is black. In other words, it causes or is suffering itself. And this is collected in the desire realm and is non-virtue. So basically, we could say that any karma that produces suffering or is in the nature of suffering, we can sort of call it black karma. Okay. This is just a way, I guess you could say, sort of giving you tools to sort of divide up karma or sort of label it a certain way. So any karma, again, that causes suffering or is in the nature of suffering, we call black karma. And that's here in the desire realm, in the realm, karma dhatu realm. It's considered non-virtuous because, again, it produces suffering. So nakpoi, this is karpoi, which is white karma. So what would white karma be? Well, of course, the opposite of the black karma, which is virtuous karma. And this is a lot of times they say it's virtuous karma, even in the form realm, not of the desire realm. Okay, so that's interesting. So result is pleasure, white, because the person isn't suffering outright. The person. Okay, so this is interesting. This is sort of a weird. Oh, now I understand. Okay, sorry, now I get it. I'm just looking at this. So what the mixed black and white karma. Okay, so black karma is bad karma that we get in the desire realm. So it's the realm we live in right here, which is, we can I guess I should say that you can sort of divide samsara up into three realms. So most beings are in the desire realm, which is sort of really defined as being, of course, desire being our main delusion, but also it's sort of like more of an organic flesh and blood, so to speak, realm of more sort of coarser matter, I guess you could say. So most beings are actually in this desire realm. So the other two realms are two God realms, which is the form realm and formless realm. You might have heard about that. We teach about that in LamRim and so forth. So the form realm is sort of a higher celestial realm. They say like it's almost like a pyramid, right? Samsara. So the tip is what they call the peak of samsara is the formless realm. Just below it is the form realm. And then the rest of the pyramid is where dummies like us are stuck, right? The sort of more coarser material kinds of people, where we have these sort of more physical bodies. We desire things. We have to have sex. We have to eat. We have to go to the bathroom. We have to sleep. These kinds of things. So the form realm is form realm gods, where their mind's extremely subtle, and they have a body just of lighter energy, kind of similar to a Buddha that way. And ironically, that's the mind that we need to have to perceive emptiness. We need a non-conceptual mind at that level of a God to be able to perceive emptiness, which is considered a subtle object. So when you do your Shine or Shamatha, tranquil abiding meditation, do your 3-year retreat or whatever. And when you learn in LamRim, you get the 9 levels of tranquil abiding. When you get to the top level of tranquil abiding, technically your mind is that of a god. You're no longer a human being on the mind level, which is interesting because your the concentration is so strong that it's a non-conceptual mind when you're meditating, right? So that's why, Matthew, I had such a hard time, I can't realize emptiness. You're right, you can't, because you have a normal human being mind. Your mind's so coarse and diluted and so gross, it can't see something invisible like emptiness. Emptiness is everywhere around you, it's just invisible, right? So you can't, all we can understand it is doing debate and logic and reading books and discussing together. But we know that all we'll ever get from that is more of an inferential view on emptiness, kind of like conceptual picture of emptiness, but it's not the same thing as realizing emptiness, obviously. So it won't liberate us from samsara. We need that tranquil abiding level of mind, that form level of mind, a non-conceptual mind to realize emptiness. So that's like a God level mind. So white karma, ironically, is when you've created a lot of good karma and you be reborn in that God realm. Right, so you have all sorts of pleasure. You're just like blissed out, meditating all the time. This God, you have, it's basically like your body's made out of light. So you're not suffering outright. You're not like us down here having to work a mortgage and go to whatever, and wars and famine and problems and politics and so forth, and then having to go to the bathroom and going to sleep and eating and You don't have all that. You're just kind of blissed out meditating with this body of light. However, you are mortal. The person you are as a God will still die, will still reincarnate in samsara. Okay, so black suffering karma is in our dhatu, karma dhatu or desire realm. White karma, as we're talking about here, is in this God realm, form realm. Now then the formless realm, of course, is even more subtle, and that's in LamRim. They say these gods are just like empty space, or just basically mind and absorption meditation. It's completely blissed out in this kind of like a jhana state. So anyway, so that's kind of what white karma means. So what we have in a lot of ways is we have black and white karma mixed. That's the karma we usually have. So we have karma, which white karma, it results in pleasure. So the result is white pleasure, or white karma, which pleasure, and its essence is black, which means that we're always doing usually mixed karma that has a bit of good in it, bit of bad. And also we can say that, just like Buddha always taught, our nature in samsara is our 5 contaminated aggregates. It's nothing separate from us. And so because we have an organic body of flesh and blood that's been born, it's growing for a while, starts to fall apart, our mind's full of delusions and contaminated actions and so forth, we are always in a state of what Buddha calls pervasive suffering, right? You've got gross suffering, someone punches you, you get you get cancer, food poisoning. I mean, take your pick, all the sufferings we have. Then we have the suffering of change, right? Which is that we're always dissatisfied, right? So that's the second level of suffering. As you know, that my teacher Tarchin, again, Kelson Tarchin always said it best. He always said, every pleasure you have is just a release of a previous suffering. So in other words, the pleasure of standing up after sitting on your butt for 2 hours feels good, but that's just the relief of the suffering of sitting. Now you'll get the suffering of standing. If someone says, okay, Matthew, you have to stand there for 45 minutes, or, oh, my knees hurt, my bum hurt, oh, then I sit down, that feels so good, right? So it's the same thing as when I feel good when I eat, it's because I was suffering of being hungry. If I eat too much, you can see where this is going. I had the suffering of being too full. So Aryadeva, a famous Buddhist saint, always said, if you increase the causes of suffering, you get more suffering. If you increase the causes of pleasure, it'll turn into suffering. So in other words, like I said, if you turn a stove on, put your hand on it, the longer you leave it on, the worse it gets. It's not going to suddenly become pleasurable. But Aryadeva says that if you do something pleasurable, a lot of it, it will turn into suffering. In other words, if I like chocolate, I eat 1 chocolate bar, it tastes great. I eat 14 chocolate bars in a row. What happens? I throw up, right? Or I like golf. Okay, well, let's say you play golf a week straight nonstop. Well, into day 3 of playing golf, you're like, I hate golf. So you can see that whenever I push things, it instantly turns into suffering. So that's what we get into, that we have quote unquote pervasive suffering, that at each moment there's this low level grade of suffering where you could say it's almost like Satan psychoanalysis, where you have a decentered self, the self is off. And that's why suffering is like, dukkha means that the axle or the alignment of your chariot or your car is off. So everything's off, it's kind of wobbly, like life never really works. So basically the black and white karma, mixed karma, is the karma that best describes how we have the situation we're in, right? Well, you can see you're in Mexico, oh my God, this is a great holiday, but whatever, my back hurts. I'm sitting there having my margarita, oh my God, my back hurts, so it's just like, even when you're getting good pleasures, there's sprinkled on top, the bonito flakes or the salt or pepper is the suffering at each moment that's always there, right? So that's one way of doing it. So we can see the difference between black karma, white karma, and then a mixed karma there. Okay, so black and white karma refer, they say, to the nature, the result of the deed and nature of the being doing the deed. Okay. So then there's another quality, which is unstained karma, which says karma that doesn't have a black and white result, but which functions to remove black karma. This is interesting, which is a direct perception of emptiness. Okay, which is pure virtue here without karmic ripeness. So basically, there's another, I guess, distinction here. You can say, so there's a black karma, white karma, black and white karma, and then an unstained karma. So the unstained karma is just basically karma that removes black karma. It's the psychic eraser, getting rid of our suffering. What is unstained karma? That's one way of describing our direct perception of emptiness. Okay, so now just to conclude, so that's a little bit of a short class just on 3 kinds of karma there. This is a good one, which is just a karmic path, which is the 4 parts of a path of action or karma. So basically, how is it, like when we're creating karma through our actions, how does that work? What's involved? So basically there's 1, 2, 3, and 4, like a list of 4 things here, 4 items here. So the first one is that when karmic action or whatever, whenever we're doing anything, there's always an object involved. Okay, mind always has an object. There's always an intentional object. Whenever we're doing something, we always have an object we're interacting with. Number 2 is there is thinking involved or an intention. So we have an object. Number 2 is we have an intention. So we can divide this into 3, which is number 1 is we need a correct identification of the intended object. That's A. B, we need, if this is bad karma, we need to be in control of a delusion. There has to be a bad thought mixed in with the intention. And then 3, which is interesting, is I guess says motivation, do you want it? Like, in other words, I guess there's the first intention that we have would be sort of a directedness towards an object, a relationship to an object. Then there's more of a course motivation, like what do I want from this action? What am I doing? Then there's undertaking the deed, and then there's the completing the deed of seeing the result. Okay, so it's just basically, you can sort of say, like, how do I create karma? Well, I have an object. I have to sort of create a bit of an intention towards it. Like, in other words, I'm setting myself up in a relationship with the object, creating sort of a bit of an intention here. I'm motivated by delusion. I complete the action. And then it's interesting, I always say of completing the deed, like I undertake the deed and complete it. There has to be a sense also where I'm sealing the karmic action, where I have to see it finished, or even they always say like rejoice or affirm the result. That gives me a solid karmic path or a solid karmic seed, right? Let's say an example. Okay, I'm in bed, I'm super tired, and there's a mosquito in the room, and the light's off. I'm like, oh my God, okay. So I'm ignoring it. And then finally, like, whether it's in Toronto in the summertime, it's too hot with my cover over. So finally, even though I'm a Buddhist, I'm a really angry guy. I'm like, okay, time to die, you little bastard. Time. So I flip on the light, I start following the guy around. So where is the, oh, I see him, he's on the wall. Okay, so first thing, object involved. 2, like it is the thinking involved, there's an intention. In other words, I've already got a relationship with this other sentient being, right? So I'm already setting a karmic relationship up between the two. So correct identification, yes, it's not the spider going on the ground, it's not my Kleenex box or whatever, it is the mosquito on the wall. I see this guy right here. Now the intention is the bad thought. I'm angry. I've got the delusion that's mixed in with my mind. Of course, anger is, there's attachment and aversion. Aversion means I want to remove this object from my experience. So literally, I want to remove this mosquito from planet Earth and pretend I'm going to squash this guy, right? So I'm in control. I'm so angry that my mind's completely in control of this solution. Now then, the motivation, do I want it? Yes, now I'm actually, the act is welling up within me and I'm affirming it. I'm actually going to squash this guy. So I'm a bad Buddhist and I would kill the mosquito, I'd squash the mosquito, undertaking the deed. And then completing the deed was, it's interesting, I see the result. It's an experience, the whole thing of me, I've seen the whole kind of movie or video of me killing this mosquito. And they even say the worst thing is when I affirm it or rejoice in the actions, like that'll teach you to bug me. So I've squished the mosquito. Now that karmic act is sealed at that point, right? So at any point along the karmic path, if I stop, if I'm about to swan, say, hey, I've taken a bodhisattva vow. This is my mother from a past life or sentient being. I'm not supposed to be doing this. You're only collecting a partial karma. You've got some negative malice in your mind you've created, but you're not going to collect the karma for killing because you've done that. Or even if I do swat the mosquito and then I feel bad about it, I go to bed and thought, why did I do that? I'm a really bad person. That's not a completed act. I've got most of the bad karma, but it's not a completed karmic act. And then I can even purify that, as we know. We'll learn about that in a later class here on the 4 opponent powers. But basically, if I go through all of that, I've created a full karmic path. Now we can do this exactly for the good thing where I'm motivated by virtue. Like I am the karmic path of, let's say, giving to charity, where I actually go down to the charity, I sign the check, whatever, I want this, I see where my money's going, it's going towards this project. The people are there showing me where the money is going to go, and I complete it, and I rejoice, and that's a completed karmic act in a positive way, let's say, or making offerings to the Buddhas or so forth, right? So it's interesting, the path of karma motivates the mind to shift to its object. Ill will, craving, wrong view are a path of karma. They will motivate the mind to move, which is karma. So it's interesting is that technically, the main delusions, mental delusions of, I've always said this, that, like, let's say wrong view, covetousness and malice, these you're collecting karma even just by generating them. So other karmas I actually have to do a full act, like killing it actually requires that I get an object, I identify it, I have the motivation, I have to, kill the person, let's say, and rejoice with the action, so forth. Whenever I have, that's a karma body, whenever I have mental karma of the mind, like malice, wrong view, covetousness, I'm creating karma just by generating those thoughts. So this is what's hard. That's why they always say those thoughts are always really bad. So even if I'm thinking about killing that mosquito, when I put the light in and I pull the cover up, I'm going to get you, and then I stop, I've still created a bit of negative karma even by doing that. So that's why, you have to practice mindfulness and be a real good Dharma person, where you're cutting it even at that point, right? Like you're not even, you get to a point habitually where you can let this through Ma Mudra, whatever you want, different techniques that we have, letting go of even those negative mental karmas from arising. Even if they arise, they kind of self-liberate, you let them go rather than sort of inflating them or investing in them. Okay. And I just want to see if there's a little section here, if it's worth saying. Okay, well, that's sort of basically what I was saying. It's just basically there's something that's a karma, but not a path of karma would be a simple movement of mind, something which is both, which is any of the 7 non-virtues, and then something which is a path of karma, but not a karma, 3 virtues, non-virtues. And yeah, we just talked about that. So that's pretty straightforward. Okay, so that's, I guess sort of a little bit basic class just on how karma works, I guess, practically with black and white karma and the paths of action there. So before we conclude, any sort of question or comment for that? So
I have just a quick one, Matthew,
yeah.
Getting back to, if you have that awareness of a thought,
yeah.
right? Something rises up and it's negative. But if you don't feed it, if you don't get involved and you are mindful enough to go, right, just keep going by, does that create karma, a negative imprint, or is it?
Well, it's probably a bit of a continuum here, that the better you get at it, right? Because they always talk about, like, people that are practicing Mamud or Dzogchen, where just everything is self-liberated or purified. Like even the negative thoughts are always let go and are always already seen as pure, right? So there's different levels of doing that, but you can even see just with your own practice, the more mindfulness you do, the more Dharma practice you do, the more you're able to stop that process of a karmic path. Like what you see with that karmic path is like a conveyor belt. It's habitual. It's just like, well, anything, like let's say smoking, like just the moment I've had friends, let's say the alcoholics, or what they say, the moment you go by a bar, you're almost ready to go in the bar and drink. Like it's like sliding down a hill, right? Or so you see, like, the more we practice, the more our mind becomes purified. Even when we're meeting objects, sort of negative objects that we're angry about, right? You won't get sucked down that whole path. Like, I hate cockroach. Like my roommate and I just found a cockroach in our place. We got rid of it somehow. I think it ran out the door or something. But I remember it was in my peaches from Karamia. So I remember opening the peaches and I was like, oh no. And instantly that the object of aversion was there. You know what it's like with a cockroach. You're like, but whatever, like let's say if I was 16 years old, it'd be like, dude, your history, like you wouldn't even think about it. It'd be just this instant like stimulus response reaction, right? But with me, there's what I found, and again, I'm not boasting, but I just this instant, oh, you're gross, but also it's like, oh, I know you're my mother. Like it's this, like as a Buddhist now, it's kind of this mixed object where I don't like the being, but at the same time, I have a bit of compassion towards it. So my whole thing is, okay, you can't be in my house. I got to get you out of here, but I'm going to try not to harm you, right? So, and we did whatever. I think she put it outside and ran outside or something like that. But that's an idea of, I guess, through your practice, because your practice is just about cultivating right habits, right? And the habits are mental habits in a lot of ways, you can see. So that's what allows you to stop this karmic train, so to speak. And what they always say, of course, is that the more realized you get, it's not even an issue of being a train. Like you no longer have a negative mind. And that's where, like in Tantra, they talk about objects going from a contaminated appearance to becoming a purified appearance, in the sense that nothing negative appears to you. Your mind is so pure, right? So it's not even an issue anymore. Anyway, bit by bit, right? This is why we're training the mind is for this. And that's what we'll see. Like maybe one day we can do a class. There's a few other classes I'd like to teach, courses like this, but class on vows where we just go over our vows. Because like I always say, when you start to know your vows, 80% or more you keep all the time. The ones you don't are your karmic profile. The ones you consistently break show the bad habits you have and the kind of character that you have. So those are the ones that are kind of habitually generate, where you're like a machine, where it's stimulus response, where those are the ones you continuously break because of the delusions you have from past lives or your childhood or everything else. So that's the friction point on the clutch. That's where you have to target your Dharma practices to healing or unwinding all that stuff, right? Well, is that okay? Did that answer your question? Okay, but okay, great. Anything else, or you guys up? You good? You need to conclude? Okay, great. Okay, well, thank you for coming, and I'll put out an email. Maybe we can see about doing a live class on Thursday or something just before Rinpoche's retreat, just so we can stay on track a little bit. I'm about 2 weeks behind, have not done those 2 classes. So thank you for coming. Thanks for participating and sharing here, and let's dedicate this in particular from our hearts. All of our study on karma, may we become better scholars and masters of karma in our own lives in particular. This is really where all the work is. All the sexy tantric stuff is one thing. We all like that, the rainbow bridges and the bikinis and Georges and bells and singing and floating monks. But the hard work, of course, is just you know, the real digging the ditch part of it is just working on our own karma. And that's the real hard part. So may we always rejoice and take pleasure and in the study and practice of karma and learning, and always one foot in front of the other on our path of self-overcoming towards enlightenment. So let's dedicate this all, everything towards the enlightenment of all sentient beings. Okay, great, everybody. Let me just turn this off here.